Bore da, well, the final psalm I have for you on this Friday morning as you prepare to face, I trust, what will be a lovely weekend, is Psalm 122. Let me read the psalm to you. I was glad when they said to me, "Let us go to the house of the Lord. Our feet have been standing within your gates, O Jerusalem. Jerusalem is built as a city that is compact together, where the tribes go up, the tribes of the Lord, to the testimony of Israel, to give thanks to the name of the Lord. For thrones are set there for judgment, the thrones of the house of David. Pray for the peace of Jerusalem. May they prosper who love you. Peace be within your walls, prosperity within your palaces. For the sake of my brethren and companions, I will now say peace be with you. Because of the house of the Lord our God, I will seek your good." I have chosen this psalm because this psalm again takes me back to my early teens at Tabernacle Chapel in Kevenethin. I heard my then pastor, the late Reverend Emrys Williams, preach from this psalm on more than one occasion. He was one of those ministers who in the 70s was grieved at the decline taking place in church attendance in Wales. And therefore he preached from the first verse of this psalm, calling people back to church attendance. Listen to the verse. "I was glad when they said unto me, let us go to the house of the Lord." This is a psalm of David, and here we find the shepherd king publicly in song declaring his delight in attending the house of God. This is not the first time for David to declare publicly his delight in attending the house of God for worship. Listen to him in Psalm 27 and verse 4. "One thing have I desired of the Lord, that will I seek, that I might dwell in the house of the Lord all the days of my life, to behold the beauty of the Lord, and to inquire in his temple." The psalmist in Psalm 84 and verse 2 declares his delight also in the house of God. "My soul," he says, "yearns, even faints for the courts of the Lord." For David, going to the house of the Lord was not a chore, but a delight. I was glad, or I rejoiced with those who said to me, "Let us go to the house of the Lord." This was not something that he did out of duty or as an example as king and head of state. Not at all. This was a joy for him, something that filled his heart with gladness and with rejoicing. During this past year, going to the house of the Lord has been something that for many of you has not been possible. And for others, while you have been able to go in between lockdowns, yet it has been with some strict restrictions, as we have been restricted in our numbers due to social distancing requirements. We've all had to wear masks. There has been no physical contact and no singing. I trust that when all restrictions will be lifted, and according to Boris, come the end of June, they will all be lifted. I trust that when people will tell us then, "Let us go to church," we shall respond like David, "I was glad when they said unto me, let us go to the house of the Lord." And in closing, let me quickly give you 3 reasons why you should be glad to return to the house of the Lord. First of all, because it's at the house of the Lord that you can enjoy fellowship with other believers. You see, Christian fellowship is vital for a believer. We are not meant to be a bunch of independent believers. We are part of a family. It was said of the early believers that they were devoted to the fellowship. Secondly, Christian fellowship is vital for us as believers because we are to enjoy the house of God, because there we enjoy with believers in corporate worship. Thank God for the internet and the way that it has facilitated some form of worship during these unprecedented times. However, blessed as we are, it cannot and must not replace gathered church and congregational worship. And then finally, it is at the house of the Lord that we sit under the sound of the gospel message. You see, the exposition of Scripture is vital for the growth of the believer. And there is something special when we come to God's house and hear the gospel preached. And I'm looking forward to preaching to a full church and not to a camera and an empty building.